Good. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. I'm going to talk about implicit modeling with an example from the Boliden Aitik mine further north from here. It's presented by myself, and I mentioned Oliver Jones here. There's a little bit of a story to this. He's on here because he was, at the time the project was carried out that I'm going to talk about later, the SRK consultant. And I was basically on the Boliden team as a geologist there, and I was receiving the project. So then, okay, I'm not going to talk you through this. SRK is a global company. We have about 1,500, 1,600 consultants worldwide. The Skellefteå office in the center of the map is the northernmost office by a little margin. And that's where we are today. We are based around the corner from here. If you have questions that go beyond what we talk about here and what we can talk about in our booth, you can join us in our office later. Today's talk will be about implicit modeling and about a case study in Aitik. How does implicit modeling work? What's it used for? And what's it used for in mining? How is it different from conventional modeling? I've got a bit of feedback. How can we? And the case study will be about Boliden, Aitik, the technique that we used there and the different techniques that we used, the timeframes and how they have changed from conventional modeling to implicit modeling, and the accuracy. So, where does it come from? What is implicit modeling? It's been there for decades. It's nothing new at all. It's new to our industry, but it's been around since the, I guess, 50s or 60s as a mathematical function, because that's what it is. It's mathematics, and the surfaces are not represented through points and the connections between the points, as we know it as, let's say, conventional or explicit modeling. They are defined through a function, and the function has parameters such as points that sit on the surface and anisotropies that define the directions that the surface takes between those points. It's been around for a long time, and it's been used, for instance, in medical applications that I'm going to talk about later. And it was later on, or it's been hampered to be introduced into any other industry, really, because of lack of computer power. That's basically what hampered lots of technology to come into our industry, and that's number one is computer power. And let's say in the 90s, we were getting there, that computers were getting stronger. Those machines were getting there, that we could run more complicated applications. And then in the early 2000s, implicit modeling was introduced into our industry through Leapfrog. Applications where it's been used for and where we know it from is what I've just mentioned, medical. Here we've got some bone surfaces, bone scans, and these are very detailed surfaces, obviously, because we have then metal plates to be modeled onto those surfaces, and that can be done in a computer application here. Another one, it has to look nice when we think about computer games. Kiddies that want to play, and old people who want to play the computer games and want to have it nice, fast, and spinning. That's where implicit surfaces would be used. In science, it's been used for a long time for scans of all sorts of things. That could be like the bones that we've seen here of much longer deceased people, or the amphoras that we see. And sometimes it's just used because it looks nice. It's used in architecture, in engineering, in science, and in all sorts of various applications. It's nothing specific to us, and it is used wherever a high level of detail is required. So, mining-related applications. Here we've got, in geological modeling, I'm talking about mining-related applications that are geologically related, let's put it that way, because I'm a geologist. We have stratigraphic surfaces, very simple modeling. A drill hole would intersect our stratigraphy. We have our intersection points, and we just need to line up those points, and we come to a surface. It's a process that geologists have done for a long time, and with an implicitly built surface, all we need are those data points, and then the rest between that can be interpreted through the mathematics that I mentioned before, and through further refining the directions, anisotropies, etc. between those points. Slightly different, but very similar, would be fault surfaces. So surfaces that, again, would be intersected, for instance, in a drill hole. We get data from various types of applications within the drill hole. That could be RQD values, etc. Could use surface maps, that all information where we've got geological evidence at the end can be used to develop such surfaces. And that's probably what Leapfrog is probably most known for, is the grade modeling. But it's not the only thing, and for a purpose I mentioned it here at the third position. So these are now grade shells that we see here at the center, and it should be purple. Is it the center button? Yeah. So at the center we have smaller volumes of higher grades, and then we've got shells of ever increasing volumes, now in yellow, and finally in green, ever increasing volumes of ever decreasing average grades within those shells. And all these can be combined into complex and ever increasing, more detailed models, where we have the stratigraphy, where we have fault networks, and all that combined with grade shells. Other mining-related applications would be, for instance, mine surveys in open pit or in underground situations in a stope, highly detailed laser surveys that would be taken, that would then be surfaced very quickly, and one could easily derive volumes, etc. from those. And for hydrological surfaces, soil contamination surfaces, etc., this could be used. I'm sure everyone here can, or each of you can come up with other applications where you could use this. Anything that needs surfacing and rapidly and to a high level of detail, I think, is where implicit modeling can be used. How is it now different from explicit modeling? So in explicit modeling, we see hundreds of years old methodology where we have a cross-section. So we have probably a geological map, and then from that geological map we derive a cross-section by simply laying a line across the map and then interpreting potentially with drill hole data that we might have at random spots, a cross-section. And if we continue doing this on another cross-section and on another cross-section and so on, we might come up with a picture as a geologist in our head what's actually happening between those cross-sections. But we don't really get a great feel for it. This is a methodology that's been used for, well, literally hundreds of years. How long have we got cross-sections in our industry? And so this being the explicit or the conventional way of modeling, has been replaced now by implicit modeling, where we have the same, let's say we have the same data set. You see roughly the idea of those fault networks. And now we learn so much more from randomly orientated drill holes. Drill holes don't happen not to always sit on a perfect cross-section here. Sometimes the drill hole is dotted here or there. And we would always have problems to actually get that into the right location. Now with implicit modeling, we don't have that problem anymore. We can actually work with our data in a true 3D environment, and that helps us a lot in getting to a much more accurate model. Good. So next step, the EuroMine. That's the basics to geological to implicit modeling. EuroMine, which is where we run this project. I used to be situated here in Boliden, around the corner, so delivering services to ITIC, one of which would have been my resource models. And annually we updated the resource model there, and that's what I'm going to talk about here, or the 2012 model. The operation is located around about 15 kilometers out of Gällivare. It's been discovered, the deposit's been discovered in the 1930s through boulder and geophysics. It's been in operation since 1968. It's been ramped up. Currently employs 670 employees, has an annual production of, that's coming later, of about 38 million tons of copper ore. The resources and reserves are given here. We're talking about billions of tons, and this is in blue we see the bar for measured and indicated resources. This is here where we cross the billion tons resources, that is excluding reserves, and since 2009 it's been going up through exploration, expanded exploration, and the peak here in 2012 it has then been used and has been converted into reserves in 2013. These are the latest figures as of May 2014, when the last model update happened there on site. Production annually 37 million tons of ore, delivering 70,000 tons of copper, 54 tons of silver, and as a byproduct, 2 tons of gold. In Boliden, in ITIC, a conventional mining package that was DataMine was acquired in about 2007. The geological model has since then been built in basically 2 packages. We used to build on plan sections. We used to string out the deposit within MicroStation, a Bentley product, and then wireframing those strings on horizontal sections was then conducted in DataMine. Later on we gave entirely up on stringing those out, and we simply used a process to come straight from the strings to a block model. It was a very time-consuming process. We used about 1 to 2 man-months a year purely for updating those strings based on new exploration, new understanding of the deposit, and trying to polish up what's been done last year and reading through the recommendations for the next year. That took quite a long time. So over time we tried to improve the model, but it was always a very frustrating process to sit there and look at those strings from last year. Sorry. So we used SRK previously for another deposit, and they proposed at the time to use implicit modeling, use Leapfrog for this geological model, and it was a fantastic project. It worked out very, very well. So we decided, and I encouraged to run a similar project now on the ITIC deposit. We invited Oliver Jones again for the project, and it took him a week to understand the data set, to build a model that was as good, if not a lot better, than what we've had done before, built over years. And he gave all of us, we were a team of 4 in the room, he gave all of us a basic introduction to use Leapfrog, so that when he leaves us with his product, with his data set, then we can then continue using that, updating that, improving it based on what we understand further. So we've on average 6 weeks, we've reduced that down to a week, and we can continue working that there. As a result, we get this. I'm going to show you a video later, and you try and recognize these structures here. So, we knew previously that we've got appetites go in, striking through our deposit. We never really modeled them out, ever. It was, we just considered it impossible to do that. Where's the sound there? These are the gray shells or the deposit, and the foot is here situated. What's happening? The sound is going on and off. Is that me or? And we've got a hanging wall surface not displayed in here. I give you the. I don't know. No, it should just play onto the next. Shouldn't give a slide. It just brings in a new. Yeah, there it is. Okay, I'll play here. Okay, good. These are then the interpretations of it. We found first time ever. We saw the evidence in the pit. We did see the folds, but we never really understood that from our data set. But now that we see the data, we can actually follow the structures here. And they're there, those fold axes, they're coming out in our data set. We see the shears, we see the direct body here. Fantastic. That's the same picture in a cross section now. So it hasn't been seen before, but now suddenly we begin to understand our deposit a lot better. Despite bringing the data into Leapfrog, displaying the grade shells in an isotropic view, just football shaped grade shells, and suddenly everything really unfolds in front of you. And how did we? Well, the greatest benefit of the whole thing was that we could actually verify the quality of what we produced from our exploration holes. ITIC has been drilled to a very high density in exploration drill holes. And from those exploration holes, we generated these grade shells here. You see ever increasing grade shells. Now in the background, those tiny little dots that you see here, those are the production drill holes that have been coming from the pit since the late 70s. And we can then overlay the production holes with the same legend as the grade shells that have come out. And we see here how well, you can't see it unfortunately, but it worked out extremely well. And you can play with the parameters in Leapfrog, and you can expand and you can shrink those shells in theory. But when you actually work through it and you follow through the process perfectly well, you do get back to the shells, and you do get the same numbers out of it, and the shells representing actually a deposit, and we could prove that we could do that. And so within a week, we were all very, very happy that we don't need to do this manual 6 weeks digitizing project anymore. We could run this through and look at this on a number of sections. This is the 170 meter section, shows it slightly better even. Here we see the purple shell encapsulating perfectly the purple production samples. Remember, one shell is the exploration data and the other shell the production data. A little video, I try and talk over it, it goes quick. So this is the entire data set, and the first thing coming in, we see the footwall here, and next thing the dike structures, and then they are getting modeled out. We see the diorite body in the footwall, and the hanging wall surface is modeled through a sulfur contact that comes out very neatly. And then the grade shells coming in, increasing grade shells, lower grade shells, smaller volumes, and then overlaying with the production drill holes as the entire model. This is a video that Ollie threw together at the end of the project, to all our amazement. So about for implicit next. Sorry. Can I do it next here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So summing it all up, we used to say in our industry, Leapfrog blobs don't look like anything like geology. We don't like it. We need to do the stringing proper. But paradigm shift comes, and things things happen and move on, and as soon as we get more and more understanding of actually what's been going on, and as soon as we see it happening more and more often and it works better and better, we do understand that we should stick with the new stuff. So implicit modeling, in my view, is the present and future of geological modeling and of many more surface modeling requirements in the mining industry. Thanks for your attention. If you want to talk, come to my booth. It's in 157, right at the entrance of the conference. Thank you very much.